All right, so for this video on the Be Astonished page, still August 30th, 2024. We're down here on a 60-foot Prestige yacht. I'm just gonna show you how to turn on all the engines and do a quick function test. Very first thing when you're sitting at the helm is you gotta turn on the power to the helm. There's a lightning bolt switch. It does turn on all the power right away to the boat. And then you turn on the power on the panel, top left switch. That'll get all of your electronics turned on and powered up. So we'll let the Raymarine system boot up here. And once this turns on, there's some questions you have to answer, some settings you have to just hammer through really quick. So far, favorite thing driving this boat is the simplicity of it. With the digital throttles, bow thruster, and the joystick control, it's basically a big video game. If you see a parking spot and you want to go for it, you just switch over to the joystick controls and you drive it like you would you were playing an Xbox. And you have a lot of control over the bow, over the stern. You can move the boat laterally, left or right. I think it can handle up to 30 or 40 knots of wind. So there's no turning on the wheel or cranking on the throttles. It's a pretty sweet system. All right, so we'll hammer through this system to get it on. This is the ship control system. So we'll go to ship control on this guy. That will load up here, and then on the left of screen, I'm just gonna have the engine set up at the engine dashboard so I can see all of our instruments. I do have a couple of the bilges on right now, pumping out any water that may have accrued over the last few days while it was sitting here raining. But it looks like everything's dry now. Okay, so that's up. Next things you want to do is turn on both the key switches just in the on position. What that's going to do, it's going to put power to the back. It's going to have the blowers kick on both of the engines, blow any fumes out of the engine compartment to avoid any massive explosions that may happen with fumes settling down in that lowest area. You can hear them both running on both sides. It also provides power now up to the switch. To the screens, so I can see voltage on either side. Make sure the batteries are good for starting. Okay, so the screen's turned on, everything's powered up. We'll start off with one engine. You can hear it turned over right away. So right switch, right gauge, you can see engine RPMs, voltage, oil pressure, oil temperature. Always a good idea to look at those for a couple of minutes before you walk away. Make sure you've got plenty of oil pressure and it's not dropping, which could result in an increase in oil temperature, which could increase in or involve a possible engine failure scenario or an overheating scenario and damage your engine. So I always like to watch it for a few seconds before I go cranking on it. And now we'll go for the other side. Same thing. So we've got our left engine turned on, our right engine turned on. Both of them have normal oil pressure, oil temperature looks good, 27 volts. Everything looks pretty good on that initial startup. Like I said a second ago, we're just gonna sit here for a minute and make sure there's no issues, no alarms, nothing weird turns on while we're sitting here. And in the event it does, we can just turn it off pretty easy and not have any issues. While we are sitting here, we'll get the ship control up and running. So the first screen I'm gonna go to is our tanks. I'm probably gonna need to add some fresh water today since the boat is kind of empty. And we are gonna be down here for the holiday weekend. So I can go right to our freshwater gauge and it shows me right there I've got a half a tank of water. So I'll top that off, that way we have plenty. And then it could also show you fuel quantity as well. And there's a few other places to see fuel quantity, but you can see all your tank gauges right here. Next side we're looking at is our bilge pumps. So we do have 4 bilge pumps on auto right now. What that means is if there's any water that accrues in that compartment, there's a little lever that will start floating. And once that lever floats, it activates the switch and turns on the pump, and any water will get pumped out of the bilge. We do have 2 other pumps that on board that are not float type switches. They use an electrical current to sense resistance. And I think that's how it works. And once those get triggered, then it turns on the pump. So they're not just floating switches. There's also an electrical switch, so you're not just requiring that manual input there. Last thing we're going to do here is turn on the generator. So right now we're on shore power. which means we're getting electricity from the dock. So we have 2 yellow shore power cables running to the back of the boat. That's providing us enough electricity to run the air conditioning and all the components without the engines or the generator being on. So we'll go ahead and turn on the generator, let that run for a few minutes, and then we'll switch over everything from shore power to the generator. So you can see the 2 switches here running on shore. We'll go ahead and turn on the generator. It takes about 15 seconds to boot up, but we can hear it once it does turn on, and it's pretty obvious at that point when it's running. I'll stand back here so you can hear it a little bit better once it kicks on. There it went. Not sure if you heard it or not, but it is up and running. And same thing, I can come back here now, see that the generator's on, and it is providing enough voltage to run AC and electrical. So I'm only going to switch over the electrical right now because the air conditioning's on. I don't want to turn it off just to turn it back on, so we'll leave that one alone. But right now everything's working, everything's running. We're going to leave the 2 mains on and the generator on for about 15 minutes, let everything warm up. We'll cycle through into neutral mode and give both engines a little bit of gas and make sure that we can increase and decrease RPMs without causing any fluctuations or any problems or any issues. And that's it. And then once we take the boat out of the slip and we go driving around, we'll put a load on those props and get a little bit more efficiency out of the operational check. Anyways, that's it for now. The next video, we're gonna hop down below, walk through the main cabin and go through all the features down below. Thanks again for tuning in on our channel, and we'll see you on the next one.